Good morning everyone, it's Damien here from Donkey Racing Engines. We're going to go through a bit of our tuning exercise. We had a bit of a fun car to tune, a little bit of a challenge, but we're getting there in the end. The car is a 2012 V6 Commodore Ute. It's an SV6, so it runs the LFX direct injection V6 motor, and it has a Vortech side mount supercharger, front mount intercooler, standard engine. It has an X-Force twin system exhaust, and it has a Snow Performance Watermeth kit on it. Now, the car came to us with quite a few drivability problems. Made pretty good power. It was running a blended E50. When we got here, we tested the tune. It made 320 kilowatts. So when we did the first run on the old tune, it made 321 kilowatts in the red here. Same sort of boost, 11.5 psi, and it started leaning out a little bit, going 12:4 to 1 FU ratio. Now, when we retuned it on pump fuel only with the Watermeth, we have picked up torque down low and in the mid-range. We made pretty much similar power curve all the way up until about 5200, where I was a bit more conservative on the ignition timing, being not on ethanol. We still made 298 wheel kilowatts, so 400 wheel horsepower. And it was enough for him to go to his drift meeting, but it had horrendous throttle hang. So one of the issues with the tune was, as you would back off the throttle, what would happen was the RPM would stay wherever you left it. You're at 4,000 revs and you put the clutch in and it just stayed at 4,000 revs. You pull up at a sort of an intersection and it's just rev hanging at 3,000. Very, very unpleasant to drive. So I'll show you some data logs now. So we were doing a lot of data logging and using HP tuners. Because it had been tuned elsewhere twice, we ended up putting the car back to factory before we started with the tune. Just made our life a little bit easier. Stock standard tune, and we started working and seeing why it was throttle hanging so bad. This is just a bit of a full throttle pull on 100k road. Nothing crazy, but my accelerator's at 0%. And my throttle's still at 73%, so it's a pretty awful feeling when you're accelerating at full throttle. You back off the throttle and the car continues to accelerate away. Very, very unpleasant. And it was doing it pretty much every time. We would come through the gears and we would back off on medium acceleration. The accelerator's at 0, the throttle's still at 100% throttle. And it was just an awful thing. It just kept making it very, very awful. So we did a lot of research and learning into Gen 5 PCMs. It's not actually a Gen 5, it's an E39 ECM, but very, very similar. The reason why we had so much issues and trouble is this external load table in the idle torque limit, but the other one is the desired torque. Now, the HP tuner's definition for these desired torque maps have a warning, and I've been advised several times not to ever modify these tables. Yet we've modified it, and that's been one of the discerning factors to actually make this a very nice car to drive. So where we were having 0% accelerator and full throttle, now when we back off the throttle, the response is pretty much instant from accelerator to throttle. It follows it everywhere, it opens as I ask it to, full throttle pulls, light throttle pulls, everything is doing what it's told, which makes the car quite nice to drive. So I've spent some time refining out the tune on the street. Now we're going to put it on the dyno and finish up the full throttle tuning, ready for drift practice in 2 days. So we've just spent the last hour dialing in our tune on full throttle on the dyno. It's coming up pretty good. Best it's ever performed on 98 octane. We're actually sitting at around 319 kilowatts currently, and we've got probably one more change just to make it a little bit richer in the top end, but the throttle's staying open, the mixtures are good. That's our current run. Yeah, at 6500 we're making 319 kilowatts, and the mixtures are going a little bit lean to the top end on that last run. So we'll dial up the mixtures a little bit more after 6000 and do our final power run, and we'll be just about finished. I did increase the rev limit to 7200, but it is nosing over around 67, so our 6800 RPM limiter was on the money. just done that final power run. We pulled 321 kilowatts or 431 wheel horsepower at 6,700 RPM, which is very good going for a standard 3.6 litre engine on pump 98, 11 pounder boost with a bit of Watermeth mix. We ended up on 17 degrees total timing at the top RPM and 12 degrees at peak torque. So between our first tune in the red, the blue tune is our current, and the yellow was as it arrived on an E50 blend. Now we'll say we'll pick 4,500 RPM. We're actually making, I don't know, 192 as opposed to 186 and 182. The torque gain is there. We picked up torque. We picked up lots of torque at 5,500 and lots of power. And we're making the same peak power as the E50, which is fantastic. So we finished the dyno tune and we were finding that it had crazy compressor surge, and on the street and on the road it was just horrendous. So it had the two Bosch style blow-off valves already, but that just wasn't enough. So we've added a 50mm race port in a nice little obnoxious point right there in the corner, and the compressor surge is pretty much finished. So the customer's going to take his car back today and he is going to do drift at Tailem Bend, and we'll have some footage of that to complete our video. Thanks for watching again, guys, and hit me up if you guys want some bespoke custom tuning done.